ambitious professionals. I am Tegan Bartos, founder of Jolt Your Career, and I go live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. my time, to selfishly discuss various topics that I'm interested in and that my clients are interested in. And so today, instead of talking about job search related topics, I'm actually going to talk about how to ditch your 9 to 5. And who better to do this with than someone who's done it themselves and recently at that. So I am going to go ahead and add in my co-host today. Keith, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Tegan. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, let me go ahead and swap us around so I can put you on the big screen when you talk. No pressure. For those of you who are tuning in, go ahead and drop where you're tuning in from in the comments. Throughout the broadcast, I'm going to have some things across the bottom for you to go ahead and engage as well, so you feel included in the conversation. And if you have any questions along the way that you would like either of us to answer, go ahead and highlight question in bold so we can easily spot it in the comments. So, Keith, go ahead and tell me, what's your story? Like, what's your background in? And then how did you get to where you're at now?
Yeah. How much time do you have? Tell me your story. Good Lord. My story's been all over the place. I was a journalism major, which is funny. I was a journalism major right before journalism got kicked in the head by the internet. And newspapers and magazines started failing and disappearing. And I pivoted into tech right out of school. I don't know, I guess I was following an interest and really didn't use any of my journalism skills other than the writing piece, which actually served me really well. And I followed the usual approach, right? I tried to get really good grades, and I did. And I got my first corporate job, which is what you're supposed to do. And I got promoted, which is fantastic. But I had a lot of struggles. I struggled early on in my life with anxiety, with depression in my 20s and 30s. And actually ended up seeking out some solutions that really weren't solutions. So I had a rough time through my 30s with alcohol and drug abuse. And then I came out of it about 10 years ago and started my life.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm 10 and a half years in recovery, which is super cool. But there's a reason I tell that, because that's really where this story starts. My 20s and 30s, I consider kind of my confused, lost years. And I got right back into corporate. I got my first job out of recovery. And then I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where there's more opportunity in tech. And I got an amazing job as a project manager at a tech company. And I started climbing that ladder again. And I got all the way up to the C-suite, which is the promised land, right? Oh my gosh, from project manager to C-suite in like 4.5 years. Aren't you living the dream? And then it turned out it wasn't everything that I wanted it to be.
That's oftentimes the case, isn't it? Society grooms us to think that we should have certain expectations for what success looks like. And then we get there and it's not what we expected. And people decide, okay, now what? I want to make a pivot.
Yeah. So it's funny because we're given one program for life. And everyone knows what it is. Go to college, get your corporate job, and climb the ladder and get a certain amount of money and a house and a car. And then we see, divorce, and we see parents who aren't treating their kids well, and kids who are unhappy, and people who are unfulfilled. And they wait till they're 65 before they decide to live their life and have fun. And so, as often happens when you hit your mid-40s, you have that existential crisis, right? Which is, I picture a gopher popping up out of a hole. Like, does anybody else think this is kind of crazy? And at the time, before LinkedIn was like super cool the way it is now, I opened up LinkedIn randomly and had a article pop up from a woman that got my attention. And she's like, I left my amazing tech job and I now work for myself. And it ended up being a really important moment in my life which is why everyone should read LinkedIn, right? And pay attention to what other people are doing, because there are options. And I didn't know I had options because I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I was still rebuilding my life. Like, how in the world could I turn my back on a C-suite job and put that at risk? And think about starting my own company. I'd never started a company before. What did I know about that? But I did the brave thing. I reached out to her, and here's what I said. I've still got the email. I said, I don't know what I want. I don't know why I'm happy. I read your article. Can we talk? I don't know why I'm not happy. I read your article. Can we talk? And everything changed from the minute I reached out to a coach. It was amazing.
Isn't it amazing how it just takes one thing to be like, light bulb is two paths. I'm going left or I'm going right.
It's amazing how conversations with other people and really just having your eyes up instead of your eyes down, and asking questions and questioning assumptions and questioning what everyone else is doing. I was actually talking to a client of mine today. I got a message from him, and I won't mention his name, but we're working on building his business, but he wanted a new job in the meantime, and he got that new job.
Okay.
And he's whispering to me, and he's like, I'm still not fulfilled. I'm like, brother, I know you're not fulfilled. He's like, but my friends are telling me I should be. I said, listen, I'm not saying that subscribing to the default program is a bad thing, or that we should judge anybody who plugs into corporate and is living a cool life. Good.
Yeah.
But if you're like me, popping up and going, this isn't working for me, that's not also bad on my client. He's like, shouldn't I just be happy to have this job? No, you just told me you're unfulfilled.
There's so many different love languages, and there's so many different work languages. You have to respect what path is right for you.
That's right. That's right.
So
it's for everybody. But
I work with corporate professionals.
Yeah.
Mid to senior level is my sweet spot. Sometimes work with executives. Sometimes executives have me work with their college grads, right? I service a gamut. And what's so funny is like, and I was looking at statistics, I posted them yesterday about how many new businesses have been opened and the age demographics in which these new business licenses are. And it's wild how the young generation right now, and I suppose plenty of people would put me into that category, but like people in their 20s are saying like, this life isn't for me. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's like people who would traditionally be near retirement are like, yeah, I don't want to retire. I'm going to retire from my corporate job, but I want to continue being a consultant. And then everybody in between is like, yeah, I want to want a piece of that pie too. My husband this morning, as he was dropping our son off at school, he was like, yeah, I just looked at the numbers and I got to do better. And it's not a competition of like, I don't want to say this to make anybody think that he's of the mindset of like men have to make more than women, but like what I make in a day is nothing compared to his role. And he reports directly into the CHRO of a Fortune 100 company. It's there's different types of mindsets and different types of earning potential, depending what route there is for you. And so one thing when people are thinking about making this transition, there's so many risks involved. So let's just get the nasty conversation out of the way. What risks are involved in ditching your 9 to 5? And then let's pivot into challenges of starting your own business.
Yeah. It's funny. If you had asked me that question a year ago, I would have had a whole laundry list. And I've had some amazing freaking coaches. And if you've never had a powerful experience with a coach, you are missing out, because it's life-changing. And my relationship to risk has shifted significantly. What?
Amazing coach.
Reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you. My relationship to risk has shifted significantly, and you'll see it in my content on LinkedIn. The concept that your safety has to come from outside of you is false. And my coach, Lydia, really hammered this home for me. Her name's Lydia Willemsen. She's out of Germany. She's fantastic.
Shout out to Lydia.
Shout out to Lydia. She She said, listen, you are your source of safety. You will always be your source of safety. The other coach I had, her name was Lauren Woodrick, also fantastic, said, you will always be okay. I called her crying one day while I was building up to this exit because I was scared out of my damn mind. Right?
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, now I see no risks. But I was scared out of my mind. And I'm like, what if I don't provide for Parker? I mean, this is a heart-wrenching Hallmark card moment. Parker's my 3-year-old son.
Oh,
Lauren, what if I don't provide for Parker? And I'm almost waiting for Lauren to say, you're right. You should stay in corporate, right? Because that's the safe, easy. That would be what a relief. And she looked me in the eye and she said, you'll always provide for him. And I thought, that's right. And that paired so nicely with you are the source of your own safety and security.
yeah.
There is so little risk to exiting corporate if you do it in a very thorough, thought through kind of way. The worst thing that can happen is, God forbid, I need to polish my resume and turn my LinkedIn network, which is all about driving my business, into driving a job for me. If I had to, I'd go get a job. We'd make ends meet. And that's the worst possible thing. What's the best possible thing? What if I start making more? What if my life gets better? What if I throw myself into this, not by dipping my toe, which I didn't do, but like right off the bridge into the ocean, full bore, and give myself to it fully? What could my life be like then? And what am I putting at risk if I don't do that? That's the
I
big
love
question.
what if statements. That's fantastic.
So the risk, I don't feel like I'm at risk. I've been through ups and downs. One of my mentors said, when I told him I was quitting my job, he said, welcome to the terror. And I thought, thank you. And all of my coaches telling me how hard it's going to be. And it was the first few months, scary as hell. When my revenue was going up and then it dipped, I thought, oh God, the world is ending. And then you learn, right? You learn that that's part of the journey and part of the growth and part of what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, I didn't have a huge nest egg. Like I just told you, I started my life over 10 years ago. And so I wasn't sitting on a ton of cash. So don't think I had a silver spoon in my mouth and that I'm saying, oh, risk, no big deal. No, I had tens of thousands in the bank, not hundreds, as my emergency fund. I had 7 to 9 months of I can pay the bills. That's all the runway I had. A lot of people would freak out about that. I knew a millionaire who said $1 million isn't enough for me to take the same risk that you took, Keith. He actually went back into corporate. He reached out to me. He had a sales call. He's got $1 million in the bank. And he said, Keith, I'm too scared. So me with 7 to 9 months in the bank, him with $1 million in the bank, I took the risk. He didn't. So what's risk? Right?
That's so interesting because what certain people feel comfortable with, other people don't. And that's one of the beauties of working with a coach or a program to get your business set up effectively. You avoid so many roadblocks. I recently started working out with a business coach, and like I often hear friends of mine who are interested in starting their own business say like, Tegan, how did you do it? Like you have so much flexibility. And it's like, I work my ass off and the reward is worth it. But the work, there's a lot, especially in the early years when you're building, because building a business is hard. If I could go back and do it over again, I would have immediately invested in a business coach. So I could have had the foundation solid, avoid a lot of roadblocks, and been able to go a little quicker. And like, I feel like I'm moving at snail pace compared to like influencer pace. But that's within my comfort zone.
Coaching is accelerant, right?
Yes.
Helps you avoid making bad decisions, doing the wrong thing, pushes you to do the stuff that you're not comfortable doing, but it's the right stuff. And I'll just challenge you in that I started my side hustle last July. I did work my tail off through February when I ditched my job. And then my next coach, this is Lydia again, taught me how to go about my work with a lot more ease and comfort. And I feel like I'm
Yep.
much less grinding in it these days than I had initially. My only expense has been coaches. I haven't spent a single dollar anyplace else other than like QuickBooks, right? And it has been the best investment because I am at a multi six-figure business a year later because of them. Because like you
Yep.
said, I avoided so many bad decisions and such wasted time. I probably would have failed if I had tried to do this on my own. I'm sure I would have.
But even with a coach, there's still some challenges of starting your own business. So let's go ahead and be real. I mean,
Yeah.
Sonal already said, let's give a shout out to some of the people in the comments. So, Sonal, good morning. She is tuning in all the way from the other side of the pond. Maureen, she's my massage therapist who's going to be who's actually going to be joining me live in a couple of weeks. Maybe it might even be next week about how to deal with holiday stress, which my back is already feeling. And Gabe, what's up? Gabe says $1 million would be a game changer. I'm right there with you, Gabe. Let me make my first million, and we're all, we're going to be dipping our toes into some type of pond, hopefully an ocean, Gabe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so good morning, everyone tuning in. But let's keep the conversation going on with this. There are challenges, whether you do it on your own, you do it with a business partner, you have access to a coach, whatever. Some of the challenges that I faced with starting my business was starting it. It was the fear of doing it. And I shared this last week. When I worked for the government, I wrote resumes on the side. When I was in my car accident, wrote resumes while I was recovering and couldn't work because of my brain injury. When I went back to the government, still did it on the side. When I became a recruiter, still did it on the side. And it was like, I never put two and two together. Like, oh, I'm so passionate about cutting through all of the BS that, whether it's working for the government or working through a corporation, that red tape that they have, it's like, there's a better way to do this. Like, board members and Congress, stop making it so hard to help people live a better life. And so one day I got fed up with someone asking me to question my values and asked me to lie, to forge a resume to get a client, to get a candidate into a client. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I quit. And amongst other things. And it took that for me to invest in a full-time business where I was finally fed up enough. But for some people, they don't even have that challenge. They're just like, let's go, starting my business. They don't have that fear. Another challenge of mine was my time management. People struggle with work-life balance at corporate. When you are your sole income, then talk about work-life balance. But now I leave tomorrow and I'm going away for a long weekend, and like, my business is still going to be up and running. Like, everybody's still going to be handling everything that they need to be handled. My clients are still going to be served. I don't have to worry about those things now that I'm further along in the process. But in the beginning, that was hard. So what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Oh, I feel you. I just took I took a week off in the spring, and I still kind of worked a little bit, but I went to Disney last week with my family and disconnected totally. And it was weird because my business isn't as mature as yours. So everything had to kind of go on pause. So good.
That sounds so much fun.
I can't wait. It was a blast. I can't wait to get there to where my business is a little more autonomous.
Yeah.
So what were the challenges? There's a whole different skill set that I think some entrepreneurs are born naturally with, and you know who they are. And you see them, right? I mean, Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, like, oh my gosh, they like come out into the world ready to do big things. And then there are people who don't have those by default. And so we think the skills we have that got us by in corporate are going to be what get us by as an entrepreneur. And I'll never forget, I took 2 days off a year ago, July, to work on my side hustle. This was like very early, just I'm going to get going. And I told my coach at the time, I said, I'm going write blog posts and work on a logo and build a website. And I listed all these things I would do. And I'd be in my introvert cocoon, because I'm an introvert, by the way, be in this room just working and doing the things I love. And she said, you're not allowed to do any of that. And my heart dropped and my palms sweated, because I knew what she was going to do. She was going to make me do stuff I didn't want to do. She said, I want you to spend the next 2 days talking to other human beings. Speaking of terror, like, you got to be kidding me. She's like, it's the most important thing for you to do. And doing that day, everything sprouted from that one little seed. If I had stayed in my comfort zone, done what I thought I should do, done what felt good and what felt right, I would have been running on a hamster wheel. I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. Instead, 2 weeks later, I had like 7 sales calls, because I took my idea, I connected with people on LinkedIn, and I started conversations, and I tested and iterated. What matters the most of that is when she told me what to do, I threw myself in fully. I did what my coach told me to do. I didn't argue. I didn't enjoy it. It was a rough couple days for me. Now I can do it no problem with all the practice, but it was tough. So you need new skills, right? 2, busyness doesn't pay. And my coach Lydia called me out on this. So I was working probably 12, 14-hour days when I was side hustling and corporate hustling, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I was up at 5 working on the side hustle, 5 to 8 a.m., helping a CEO run his business. And by the way, doing it effectively, because that was part of my values. There was no way I wasn't going to perform highly at corporate while I was hustling. And then a call over lunch, and then some stuff at the end of the day. So 12 to 14-hour days for 3, 4, 5 months to see if I could do this. And then I'm a month in after I left corporate, and my coach says, how many hours you put it in? And I said, 12 or 14. She's like, okay. You just traded your corporate job for now you're doing the same thing to you that corporate did to you. That doesn't make any sense. And you can't just be busy, right? Busyness and doing lots of stuff and sitting here doesn't pay. She's like, do the most effective, value-driving work, and then go live your life. Isn't that why you did this thing? So I had to learn how to not prioritize busyness and instead prioritize effective ways to drive revenue. And then be okay with the fact that if I only work 2 hours, but I make 20 grand, the work police aren't going to arrest me for going and goofing around the rest of the day. That's a big shift that I don't have to plug in for 8 hours. So it is, to say what I had to work on and what I had to change to be where I'm at today. And I still feel like I'm a baby with this stuff. Massive internal shifts in how I see and relate to the world. It was huge.
You touched on something there that probably is going to resonate with a lot of people. And it was to live with something. Can you repeat that?
Give me a little bit more.
Live with more. Is that what you said? Live with more?
No. Tell me more about, I need more of a clue to what you were
talking. You said that you want to like live with purpose or live life to the fullest, or what was that tagline that you just said?
Wow. I'm kind of drawing a blank here. But I think maybe the concept we're getting at is I'm allowed to
live life full out.
There you go. Yeah, that's my LinkedIn tagline. Yeah, live life full out it's in my banner. So it has to do with this holistic vision of, it's not work and then the pieces of your life. It's life and how work fits in. And I had to shift that. I don't have to sit here for 12 hours a day to make a living and earn. The first time I sat on my front porch on a Wednesday at 1 p.m, not doing anything, I thought I would get in big trouble. Absurd, right? But we're programmed that way. But see, you talked earlier about, you got pushed to start your business and exit because you were just sick of the crap. And I would consider myself more of an upside person. Like, I was sick of not maximizing my life and my day and my time. When you hit 47, 48 years old, you realize you got about 30 years left. And it's like, is this what I want my life to be? So that's why I say live life full out. That's why, going to Disney and doing it all first class, like, why not? This is a chance. This is your life. Do it now. And if you can work less and make more, that's going to open up a lot of opportunities to do cool stuff and to be an amazing father, an amazing husband, an amazing son, and serve my family. Like, that's incredible, the example you can set once you decide to start your own business.
Absolutely, it is. And so if someone's considering this pivot, can you share how you could be a resource for them?
Yeah, happy to. So my approach is, not surprisingly, it's a little unique. I'm not one of those people who says, let's start a drop ship program. I've had people ask me about that, or build a digital product at $20 a pop and sell 1 million of them. That's one way to go about it. But I think learning how to serve one human at a time, and that doesn't mean you have to be a coach. I've got people who want to be consultants and people who want to do people who want to do marketing. But I think you build a business one human to another. And so the first thing I help all my clients do is strip away all of the things they assumed they needed to do in order to make their first sale. And we install a new program to get that first sale. Because isn't that the point? Once you can make your first sale, then now you can make 2, 3, and 4. Now you've got something.
Oh,
I had somebody who had been working on his business from January to this past August, reached out to me in August, and he said, I'm quitting my job in January. I said, amazing. How much money have you made? He hadn't made any money. I said, all right, well, let's figure out how to generate revenue before you leave your corporate job. And he's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Like, oh my gosh, you were going to quit your job not having made $1. So my process is really about discovering, at least we try as close as we can to your purpose, right? Yeah. Your purpose can change and shift, but what were you put on this earth to do? And how can you do that for other humans and get paid to do it? That's the kind of work I really enjoy. And it can show up in all kinds of different ways. I've got, one client who's a chemical engineer, and he wants to help people buy more effective chemical products. Like, I don't know anything about that, but it means something to him. So
yeah, my sensitive skin needs that.
Yeah, he'll put the passion and energy behind that because he cares about that.
Yeah.
So it's about alignment and purpose, and then how do you take your product to market? How do you have conversations with other humans? How do you sell? And then how do you serve? How do you actually provide that? So I take people from I've got no idea to the point where they make their first sale, and underneath that we do the mindset work and the energy and vibration work, that shift you've got to make internally so that you can become an entrepreneur, because you need to become a different person. If you haven't already done this, you will be different when I'm done with you. And by the time we're finished, you should have a plan and have a target for when you can exit your corporate job, because I want you to live your life, like you said, full out.
Awesome. So if you are wanting to level up in your corporate career, I can help you. If you're wanting to leave your corporate career, he can help you. Either way, we both support you on whatever your ambitions are and want you to live your version of a happy life, whatever success looks like to you, whatever fulfillment looks like to you. And throughout this conversation, I love the transparency in that what works for one person doesn't work for the next. Yeah. And there's so many different problems in this world that can be solved with different solutions, that there's the corporate way to go about solving those problems, and then there's the entrepreneurial route to solve those problems, and both can be options for the right person. Being an entrepreneur myself, this conversation is motivational because how much risk that it takes and how much pressure goes into us about serving our clients well and serving our home and our family well. And that is something that I think our audiences both really care a lot about, and very dope that we were able to cover that. So shout out to everybody in the comments who has just been blowing the comments up. Julia, congratulations to you for starting your journey now. If you're haven't already talked with Keith, definitely make sure you ping him, get some ideas. Yeah. And Keith, I'm going to let you end this. So final note, so I can be respectful of your time. what would you like to say to individuals who are thinking about ditching their 9 to 5?
Yeah, don't let any preconceived notions or assumptions at least scare you from at least exploring the idea. Because if you look at my story, I shouldn't have built the life I've built. And I'm gonna like choke up if I tell you this, but you got to know I came from humble means, from not a ton of money in my house growing up, and through recovery, and I figured this thing out. So if you want it bad enough, you can figure it out too. It's possible.
All right, guys. So you heard it here. It's possible. If you want it, reach out, find the support, build that village that it takes to make this happen. And to everybody tuning in or catching the replay, I hope you have a fantastic day.